everybody else. Just raise your hand just louder. There we go. All right. So first off, welcome. This is, I think, our 4th or 5th meeting here at Edwards Brewing. I'd like to thank John and Wendy. They should be in the back over there. I'd also like to throw out a special thanks to Ty for helping us out. He's doing the live stream right now of all this for people who can't make it. So, round of applause for Ty. So before we get started, we'd like to start by doing the Pledge of Allegiance and an opening prayer. So if you guys want to stand up.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so if you guys would like to join us this morning for an opening prayer, we have Pastor Dean here from Grace Point, and he's going to start us off today.
All right. Well, I'm glad to see so many people here today. I believe that in all of our ways we acknowledge God and He directs our path. And we put Him first at the beginning of everything, not at the end. And God goes and He's our champion. He blazes the way and makes a trail. He makes a way where there's no way. What's impossible with man is possible with God. So let's give Him some glory today. Father, we thank you, God, that we know wherever we are gathered together in your name, you're right in the midst of us. We know that you're here with us today, God, that you favor your righteous cause. You are for us, God, and we are for you. And I ask, God, that you would go before us, that you would anoint our plans, our thoughts, and even our words, that you unite us and bring us together. I ask, Lord, that we will feel a supernatural empowerment that is only found in you, that your providence would move on our behalf, God. I ask, Lord, that you would not only bring strength to this union, but you would bring encouragement, that you would bring hope. And let there be a break of dawn that we can all experience and all feel, God, that something is happening, something is moving, that strongholds are being destroyed. I ask this in the name of Jesus, and I thank you for this chance. I thank you for this opportunity, and I thank you for this time. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
How about you guys? I think our kids need to take some lessons when they do their prayers at dinner time. Theirs is a little shorter. All right, so first off, before we get started, I like to have people raise their hands all the time. And it's not because I used to teach. I just like to see everybody put their arms around. How many people here today, and this is your first meeting with us? Woo! I wasn't expecting that many. That's great. I'll tell you that most of the meetings we've had have been about half. Half of the room has raised their hands. The last big meeting we had was on Sunday. It was over at the Field House in Enumclaw. And we filled the entire place, which was fantastic. And it was during a Seahawks game. I thought, man, it's either going to be 10 people or 400, and it was over 400, so that was great. And that's because I think all of us right now are kind of at a point where we feel like our backs are against a wall. How many people here feel like they didn't have certain people that they could even reach out or talk to at their place of business or family or friends? I know, especially, it depends on the industry you're in. Some industries, you can say whatever you want and there's no ramifications, but there's a lot of industries out there. Education, medical, first responders. You can't say anything outside of the appropriate language or have your own individual thoughts unless they go along with the institutional thoughts that they only allow you to speak. And I know that some of these meetings really brings a lot of hope to people who felt like maybe they were the only one feeling the way all of us are feeling today. So I'm glad we can gather and we can share this. And one of the biggest things about these meetings that we're trying to do is just connect people. That's all it is. This isn't about a movement of a group. It's not a movement of a person. It's a movement about all of us coming together and realizing that together we're strong and we give each other confidence. And we come together and we know that if we can stand up and we don't comply, then we will take our state back.
Right on.
We need the numbers, and we need to have that happen, but the only way we're going to do that is by reaching out to our neighbors, our family, our friends, even the ones that maybe you've had a difficult time talking to lately. It's been a tough time. You know, the lines have been drawn. We've had more division over the past year and a half than I can remember. I'm not that old yet, but I can't remember generations past where the division was this strong. This vaccine mandate, for instance, and once again, it doesn't matter if you're vaxxed or not. I don't care either way. But we all deserve the right to choose for ourselves what we put into our body, how we live our lives. And it's not just about the vaccine. It's not just about masks. We're talking about control.
Right.
And this control has been happening for a long time. But we've allowed it to happen. We've sat back. We've been consumers of everything. Amazon, football, entertainment, sports, all these things that we sit back and it takes up all of our time. We've been allowing that to blind us from what's been happening and how this control has creeped into every aspect of our life. Who got in a car this morning and heard their car beep at them before they had the time to put their seatbelt on? That's just one more little reminder. Every time it happens, I say, dang you, government. I'm only half a block down the road. And sometimes I'm like, no, I'll take the beep. And I just start driving and it gets louder and louder and louder. It's relentless. I know in past meetings before, we talked a little bit about taxes and things like that. We were doing an event a week ago, and we needed to get a liquor license. And I hopped on the liquor control board, stuff to find out the license for this particular group that we were doing our thing for. There was like 30 different licenses, and each one of them told you what you can and can't do. We are not responsible in these people's eyes. We are not allowed to be able to take care of ourselves because we're too stupid. We talked about that before with how amazing downtown Enumclaw's been. And for those of you who have not come Fridays and Saturdays to Enumclaw, I recommend you do because it's community out there. We shut down Cole Street. The businesses provide the fires. They have, and the nice thing about it is that we were allowed to start bringing our beverages outside because people couldn't be indoors. And the greatest thing about that, I know I mentioned this already in one of the last meetings, but I love this example. We realized that, wow, we're responsible enough to have a beer outside.
Wow.
We haven't heard from the cops that there's been, a huge increase in DUIs or fights in the streets or anything else. We realized, why did we have this law to begin with?
Yeah.
Now, we can sit here and I can talk to you for the next 4 hours about all the laws that we don't need anymore. But I'll tell you one thing, the Liquor Control Board, we don't need them, do we?
No.
There's so many things that we can sit here and go over and realize that it's not just about this vaccine mandate. It's not just about masks. All that is there to divide us. It's all about division. Divide and conquer. The art of war. Sun Tzu. It's the oldest tactic ever. Because a strong, united America, the people, there's no way a government can defeat us. And there are so many more people out there like you guys that are ready to stand up, not just across America, but across the world. And we are witnessing something amazing. We are witnessing a great awakening. Is it going to be scary? Yes. Are bad things going to happen? For sure. We're not going to be able to avoid what's coming because we've been asleep so long, we've allowed it to get to this point. So we can look at it as this is our awakening. Perhaps this is our punishment for not paying attention. And now we have to prove to ourselves that we deserve this freedom. Once again, our founding fathers in 1776 didn't do everything that they did, sacrifice everything they sacrificed, achieved freedom, and said, good, we got freedom now forever. Have fun, guys. That's not what their intentions were. They knew. That's why they had to write a constitution. That's why they spent years and years deciding how they were going to set up this form of government. The people who created this country, our founding fathers, were just old white men like they teach in high school. These were intelligent people. All they did was read books. John Adams, he lived in Braintree. He read out every library they had. That's why they traveled. They traveled to get books. The Thomas Jefferson Library. Those are books he read. Not all of them. There's a lot of books in the library now, but these people sat there and they studied philosophy. They studied ancient governments. They spent all their time reading and figuring out how can we create a government for the people that is going to last longer than 400 years like every other government. I think they'd be very proud to see what's happened. and what America has brought to this world, what capitalism has done by bringing people out of poverty across the globe. What we've achieved as Americans has been unfathomable. It's been amazing. But I do think they'd be disappointed that we forgot why we have our freedoms and what we have to do to keep those freedoms. And we're going to find out, and we're going to find out the hard way. And it's, of course, not everybody's at fault. But at the same time, we're all in this together. So I'm glad everybody's here this morning. I think I went a little bit too long there. But I want to thank everybody for coming here. And I guarantee you that if we keep this momentum going, and you guys keep talking to people, go to our website, you can fill out your information, take some surveys. We're going to start one city at a time. And we're going to talk a little bit more about the community organizers and how we're growing this group outside of just our small communities. And we're going to fill you in how you guys can help out as well. But if we all come together, this is going to work. We will have enough people, and we will walk up to Governor Inslee and let him know that he is done controlling our lives.
Okay. We have several awesome speakers in different industries. Going to talk for a few minutes today. Hi, I'm Tara. This is Nick. I don't know if he even introduced himself, but this is my husband, Nick. I'm just going to talk for a couple minutes about the school side of things. I'm a teacher in White River School District, and I'll just kind of give you an update of what some teachers are doing. I'll talk on the school side for a moment, and then we have some way better people to talk after me. October 18th is a big day coming up. There's a lot of school districts and school employees who are still deciding that the vaccine isn't going to be, they're not going to comply with that for whatever reasons, and exemptions are being provided. However, every school district, every local school district gets to decide how they're going to treat their employees who are not vaccinated. Now, I'm no longer just fighting for my job or my fellow colleagues' jobs. I'm really at this point knowing that they're going to be going towards our kids next. And so us standing up as teachers is because we want parents and kids to see that they don't have to comply either. And all we're fighting for, and I continuously say this to our administrators, we have had meetings with HR, we've had meetings with district level, superintendent, things like that. Our message is simply, we want to be treated exactly like the teacher next door. Nothing different. Nobody needs to know who's vaccinated, who isn't. It's just treating us all the same. And that goes to kids as well. Treating them all the same. No segregation, no discrimination. Simply, let's continue treating everybody exactly how they should be treated. So, I mean, there's already, and I'm sure this is at lots of workplaces that beyond schools, bribes, guilt, persuasion to keep your job. It's going to go to kids also. There's money there. Again, it's state level. There's money there to do the same thing to all of our children. And so, anyway, there's lots of people that are fighting for this. We're doing it in a professional way. We're doing it in a way that there's no point in going and arguing with the upper level people. We're going at it like we're on the same page. We have the same mission. The schools need us. There's lots of places where if October 18th comes around, there will be no bus drivers. There will be no office staff. There will be no kitchen staff. There will be there'll be teachers gone from classrooms where there are kids needing them. And so we're all on the same page. We all have the same mission, and that is to not have schools shut down because of this, right? So treating us all the same has been our mission and our goal and our communication with them all along. So I know if you are a parent and you feel like all teachers are feeling the same way, I just kind of want to encourage you and let you know that it's not true. A lot of people have been silenced, right? But we're still fighting, and we're still we're doing all this for the kids. And so I just want to get that message across as far as that. The message that we are being told to us, though, on a daily basis, and the ridicule and the heat and the hatred, is that we are dangerous if we don't fit this. That we shouldn't be be around children. Now, I've been teaching for 16 years. I love my job. I do it for the joy of it. I absolutely am not dangerous to kids, but that's kind of the mental strain that they're putting on teachers, and I'm sure lots of other people, nurses and things like that, that if we don't comply, we are a danger, right? And so I just, a lot of people are mentally stressed by this too. So there's a lot that they're trying to persuade, again, convince, guilt, and bribe people to comply, which as soon as you know that those things are happening, you realize, why do you have to convince me to do that? So October 18th is a big day. If in your area you have a group of people who can do things to support the schools, continuously call the district level and fight for your kids and fight for your staff at your school to be amazing.
Yeah, go Tara!
I guess one of the biggest things, I know a lot of people when they come to meetings like this, they're trying to figure out, well, I'm here, what can I do? What are we going to do? We don't want to just come together on the weekends and talk about stuff that all of us are probably pretty close to on the same page and then go back home. The idea is to have actionable items, and those are things we're going to be talking about today. But like Tara was saying, some of the simplest things that you can do are some of the most effective. Emails and phone calls are huge. Because once again, there are people out there, there's educators, principals, district level, just if we're talking about education, they don't really understand how people are feeling. A lot of them just think they haven't turned in their exemption yet because they're busy with this new way of doing school. So if we don't reach out and let these people know, they're just going to keep going through thinking everything's fine. So that's just a good little way of something you can do. Next up, I'm going to ask Jeff to come on up. He's going to be sharing based off of, well, do you want to say the airline?
Yes.
Okay. He's from Alaska Airlines. I'm going to give him the floor. So thank you.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you for being here and supporting what's going on and standing up. I might just be a little bit nervous so if my voice cracks. I might be puberty, but so my name is Jeff Pratt. I am currently a pilot for Horizon Airlines, which is part of the Alaska group. First of all, I'm going to ask, are there any other airline employees in the group?
Right here.
Thank you all for being here. As you know, we are getting a tremendous amount of pressure to comply with this tyranny. And there is a large group of us that are standing up and saying, absolutely not.
Right on.
The group that I am standing up and saying, hey, please go to their website, check it out, sign up, and support is usfreedomflyers.org. Yes. We need all the support we can get. We need to partner with all of the organizations that are out there that are doing a lot of the hard work, that are partnering with lawyers. They're looking at how best to write exemption letters. They're giving us the tools we need to stand up and have confidence. Please do that. Again, we are getting a tremendous amount of pressure. The website was started specifically for airline and transportation people. We need the traveling public to go on, sign up, and show your support. Because they're going to be able to take that, utilize it, utilize your support in numbers, utilize your financial support to go fight for our freedom to fly unvaccinated. Because once they do that to us, they're going to do that to you also. They're going to require you to have a card. You're not going to be able to travel. That's just one more freedom that's gone. We all know it's just going to continue on there. Thank you, Heath, for your opening prayer. I'll get a little emotional about this one. God's in control.
Amen.
That's my faith.
Yep.
Yeah, that's about all I have to say about that. Yeah, I can just go.
Okay, so we just kind of want to open up to the floor, and were you guys able to hear okay back there? Okay,
A little
awesome.
louder be good.
A little louder?
A little
Okay.
center or louder, just a smidge.
Just a smidge.
Start over, Jeff.
Do the whole thing again.
I think it's a great opportunity. All of us enjoy traveling, and I bet that's one of the major concerns many of you have. That might even be a line for certain people. That might push them into doing something they don't want to do because they fly for work or they use public transit or whatever it could maybe. But the airline is really huge. I fly a lot for work. I have my line in the sand already, and I personally don't choose to take the vaccine. Once again, if you have, I know there's a lot of people here who have had the vaccine and they're here for freedom. But my line has been that. So I know what if that were to happen, that I'm done. I can't fly. We're done with our family vacations. We're trying to use up our airline miles right now. I'm not kidding you. We're using them up because we're worried that that might happen. So if we can get to that website and start helping out and growing that group, once again, not just you jump on, you share that website with other people that you know, and start mass texting. And you know, I found that texting is probably one of the best ways to communicate right now. You post things on social media, it's not effective. For one thing, especially if you're posting something about this, it's not going to get to anybody anyway. But if you send a personal text to somebody, they'll actually read it. This whole entire thing, so like I mentioned earlier, the hands that came up today, over half of the room, it seemed like we're new, and that's been happening this whole time. When you start, it was all through text messages, and it was all through emails or private messages on social media. We haven't posted anything anywhere else, so it does work. So I think it's a great opportunity right now. If anybody has any questions, we got the guy here if you're curious about some things. So we'll take a few questions.
Real quick question. So when is the mandate for you as a pilot?
December 1st. By December 1st, we're going to know what we'll probably know before then. We are working at the Alaska group has a group of lawyers, group of people that are organized, that are putting together a unified exemption, something that we can take in and say, present at the same time to both the Alaska management and the Horizon management says, no, we're not going to do this.
Liberty Council has a great 8-page document on unlawful denials of religious exemptions.
So U.S. Freedom Flyers has
So
got
are we-
part of the Liberty Council information, yes.
So make sure you got that.
Yes, we got
The
that.
other thing is, I work for CHI Franciscan, and we have already submitted all of our letters, gotten our denials, and in our denials, they were generic denials. So they didn't tell you whether it was because they can't accommodate you or because they didn't agree with your religious exemption. And so we've had a lot of pushback.
Can
and
we
finally-
talk louder? We can't hear back here, sorry.
We finally got a concession from them, and they did list out 5 or 6 things that they were looking at that would automatically exclude us. So if you, is there a way
U.S.
to
Freedom
see-
Flyers
send it-
is already working with United, American, Hawaiian, Frontier, JetBlue. They're not just the Alaska group. They are nationwide, and they've already seen that information. That's why they're being careful, and they're telling us, do not submit your information yet. Let's gather all the information we can get, and we'll submit it all at a relative one-time. Yeah, I guess that's it, just one time.
Just a quick note on that.
Yeah.
Exclusions are not free.
Absolutely.
There's already
Yeah.
exclusions out there.
Yeah.
I think it's a crack to get in, but it's still not free.
I would agree. I like the letter of declination that we're using, and that's what I'm planning to use, because that's not, I want an exclusion. That's like, I'm not going to. And if you don't do that, then I'm gonna give this last pitch. I know a lot of guys that spend a lot of money It is not easy to get in the airline industry.
Right.
I started out at 18 to do that, and I went a different route just because I didn't think it was going to be the best thing for my family. At 48 years, 47 years old, I decided I'm going to make a career change. My son, Jameson, is a first officer at Horizon also. He got in a month behind me. I decided to make a career change, talked my wife into a better than 60% pay cut out of supply chain management at Boeing. I've been at this for Horizon just over 2 years. To say that I'm going to do this is no small deal. That's a major deal. So the only reason I say that is because I'm willing to give that all away. I got other things to do. I'll do something else. This is way too important. I'm done.
Yeah.
Just real quick, can I just get a quick, I see the hands too, we're keeping track. Can I just see a quick raise of hands again, because I like to do that. How many people are willing to walk away from their job? Come on. We're good back, we've got to talk loud.
Articles about pilots that are getting pulmonary embolism, ischemic injuries, heart attacks on flights and whatnot due to the vaccine. So how can you get your first class physical signed off every 2 years if you're vaccinated when you have risk of flying?
I have no idea how they're getting around. That is a major concern for me. It's a concern for my son, who already has a history of adverse reactions. If we, as pilots, go in and we have a problem, that is going to be a deal. They are going to jerk our physical and we're done. So I'm going to throw this out. If you travel, before you travel, send a text, send a letter. I want guaranteed that the pilot, at least one of the pilots up front, is non-vaccinated.
You don't want one of those guys to go down. I'm afraid, and I'm a flight attendant, and I'm gonna have to go up there, and I know the code to get in, but I can't do his job, neither can any of you. So you have to tell these airlines, you are afraid to get on a plane with the risk factors that at least one pilot has to not be vaccinated.
Yeah.
We know the truth of the side effects. We can't.
It
don't want to
doesn't
risk
matter
your
if
life.
those side effects are 1%. 1% is too much when you know that there's a possibility of a 1% problem.
Yeah.
So have you guys thought about, I know my son's a pilot, so have you thought about reaching out to these physicians that have the license to do the first class physical and come together and say, we are not going to sign off on pilots?
I have heard, but I have not personally done that. I'm in the process. My medical is due in November, and I have already started poking around to find out what's going to happen. But man, it's not easy to get a hold of them. It's difficult.
So my son is a pilot too, Jeff, although in the military. But do you have any information as far as, I think we saw just the other day with the ferry workers doing a bit of a walkout. Do you have any idea as far as percentages of pilots?
I honestly don't. That's one of the things that I'd like to see. I know that there are thousands of pilots who are part of this organization. I know that there are someplace between 450 and 500 Alaska group employees that are currently on a group that's pushing against this. Do we have percentages? No. Like I said, we are getting a tremendous amount of pressure. And the propaganda, the political movement, I don't even know how to say it. They're wanting to segregate us. They want to keep us separated. They want to keep us isolated. They don't want us talking. That's why it is so important that we go to these meetings every week, invite more people in our community. Go to USFreedomFlyers.org, sign up, show everybody that you talk to. If you know somebody that's an airline industry individual, a military individual, a pilot, get your name out there. Have them sign up.
How many people here are pilots or no pilots? Raise your hand. That's awesome. That's a lot of people. That's great. All right, we have time for one more question. But
More of a statement, I guess. I told Jeff I wasn't going to do this, but I'm going anyway. So I've been working for the airline industry for coming up 16 years. It took me another 5 years to get into it, so it's just prior to 2001. I'm willing to walk away from all this crap because on principle, we're fighting against people taking away our freedoms, and that's exactly what they're coming for. For example, and I don't know if anybody's heard this one, H.R. 4980 being pushed into Congress by a brand new Democratic congressman in New York. Basically, I'll shorten it, they're trying to make everybody vaccinated. If you travel on an airplane into or out of the United States, doesn't matter if it's a U.S. regulated airline, a charter plane, or even, as we've read deeper, a private aircraft. We both have small planes. We have to be vaccinated to even operate that. That's how far they're going with this. This is absolute tyranny. You've got to put a stop to this crap.
Yeah, I'm sure you guys have watched Justin Trudeau. I bet most of you guys didn't know who Justin Trudeau was a year and a half ago. But now we're like, oh, what are you saying today? And they're doing the same thing with travel right now. Yeah, in the back.
I've got a daughter-in-law that got a close friend that works for Alaskan Airlines in the office, home office. And she's refused taking the shot. And they're part of the cabal, Alaskan Airlines, we know that. And so anyways, they came into her office, shut the door with the vaccine, or with the shot, not a vaccine, the shot, poison. Came in there and they said, we're going to fire you right now unless you get the jab. She had 4 children.
They say they stand for core values. When you get on with Alaska Airlines, they almost make you memorize these core values. It's a bunch of crap. What they are behind the scenes is exactly that.
So she took the shot. She took the shot, and a mother with 4 children. And so, I mean, what you're saying, working for Alaskan Airlines, I like flying them overall, but I don't like tyranny. And they're part of the cabal. And, Bill Gates, everything goes on in that world, we all talk about it. So I just appreciate you coming out like this as a pilot and helping us, the rest of us, take a stand. Thank you.
We'll break a rope to those rallies in Olympia. So real quick, Jeff said he will hang around at the end of this because we have a lot of guest speakers, so we're trying to stick with our time schedule here. He will stick around for any additional questions you guys might have. And of course, me and Tara always encourage everyone to hang around because they do open the taps after the meeting. That's where the real tough conversations begin. But, we will have that time afterwards for everyone to connect and get together and find out where everyone lives and how you guys are all going to keep in touch and everything. So let's give a round of applause for Jeff. Okay, so our next set of guest speakers are in law enforcement. Once again, every time we do one of these meetings, we're trying to bring somebody in different, and we're trying to cover different information. Once again, we don't want to regurgitate things that we already know, or anything else, or that we've heard last week. So we thought it'd be great to have some people from law enforcement come up. So I'm going to introduce Chris and Tammy here, and they're going to have the floor for a few as well.
I'm Tammy, this is Chris. So, yes, we're in law enforcement locally, King County. Speak up. Sorry. So, we also have yelling last night at the rally. Yeah. So, we have actually started a South Prairie Buckley group. It's very small. we've actually, I'm on the Telegram page, the Freedom to Choose group. Actually have a rally, have organized for next weekend. You guys want to get a photo of this? It's actually going to be pinned on the Freedom to Choose page also. So, yeah, we talked a little bit about ourselves and our jobs. Yes, we're law enforcement. So hopefully, because it actually doesn't like what we do for a job. But,
is there anybody else here in law enforcement?
all right.
All right. Tammy and I have been in law enforcement for 17 years. Different agencies right now. We used to work together. Our agencies are in King County. My employer has mandated a vaccine for everybody. Our deadline is November 15th. Right now, our agency is about 100 people. 1/3 of our agency is saying no. Imagine where you live and losing 1/3 of your house. Things aren't as bad down around here, Buckingham as they are up in King County, but I can assure you that's huge in King County. And every agency that I'm familiar with or aware of is short-staffed, grossly understaffed to begin with. So I can't imagine what's going to happen to the public, the people that need law enforcement services when this deadline, when we reach the deadline. State Patrol's deadline is the 18th. So I don't know. We've seen what's happened here in the last year and a half with all the protests and just our hands being tied. I can assure you that law enforcement overall is very supportive of what we're doing.
All right.
Sure, they may come to a rally. We had a guy from Oregon PD show up last night. He had to be there. I felt sorry for the guy. Some people unloaded on him. And that's fine. That's part of the job. He's like, listen, please just don't use the bullhorn. He's supportive of us. Everybody down there is supportive of us. Enforcing mask mandates, absolutely not. We're not going to do it. No. Trying to get people's guns, absolutely not going to happen.
And boys.
Yeah, so just last year, I think it was June, that mask mandate came on board. My agency, we were told we had to enforce it, and we all went to our admin, and we all said that we're not doing that. They told us that we had to tell people to get out of the parks, that we had to tell people to get off the field, and we all said, we're not good for you. So. Not only is it illegal, but the bottom line is they weren't dealing with the people who were suicidal, sitting in their homes, that we had to go to these calls. So that's, get a little emotional about that. That was a side effect of that.
So just be aware, I'm going to say it again, the law enforcement overall, the majority are very supportive of this movement, similar movements, very anti-mandate. So if there's any question in your mind, I think that kind of calms that down. Any concern?
This might be a question that's uninformed, but would they employ the National Guard in order to take your guys' places?
So.
No, they'd use Antifa.
I'm going to say yes. My personal opinion is that's where we're headed. My personal opinion is this is being intentionally done.
Absolutely.
To get rid of law enforcement as much as possible to the point where you can't sustain services to the public. And oh my golly, now we have to build a National Guard. Right. Yeah, right. We're headed there. I think that's going to happen. I get pissed off just thinking about it.
To answer the question though, where we work, we have not heard that. They haven't said anything about that. And so, and where I'm working, we don't have a mandate yet. But I know, and I wouldn't say we're a very big department, but we're not super small either. And there's several of us that will not take the shot. But we haven't heard anything about that specifically. They haven't told us anything about National Guard and our purposes.
Have you heard anything about the UN? I heard that someone was in Ellensburg and they saw a UN Humvee there, and the guy was gassing up, so they talked to him, and he said that there had been a whole bunch purchased, and some of them are going to Wenatchee and some to Yakima. Have you heard anything about that?
We haven't heard that either.
So at our level, we're not gonna hear anything about that, but just common sense wise, you can look around and you can tell for yourselves what's going on and what's happening. Is the UN eventually gonna show up in this country? Maybe. Are they gonna, we keep our guns, we keep our country.
Yeah. Amen.
We got time for one more question, and we'll do these two.
So, just so everybody's aware, there's a lot of stuff going out. I work for, I'm a federal employee. I work for an Army unit that ships stuff by vessels back and forth and on rail and trucks. And people, I've seen a lot of videos where people are asking questions about why are they mobilizing the military because they saw tanks on a train. That's the cheapest way to get them from here to Georgia. So if you guys see stuff like that on social media, they're old beat up tanks. They're not mobilizing or anything like that. Not to say that that doesn't happen at some point, but just so you guys know, don't think like just because you see somebody posting something on social media like, you know, I just saw a train with 70 cars and 35 of them are tanks. Like, yeah, I loaded those. They're going back to the unit that came from Korea in a training operation. They're not going to go take over America.
Years before they enforced it, so yeah, absolutely. You see that stuff all the time. You gotta get stuff.
Yeah.
And that's actually a very dangerous thing. That one thing that we really strive hard to achieve in this group is, for one thing, always verify. Do your best to verify. Don't just retweet something when you see it as well. And of course, most of the stuff we've even said today can be considered a conspiracy theory or whatever, and that's fine. I think most people who are considered conspiracy theorists are people who like to research a lot. And people who usually call other people conspiracy theorists are somebody who has just been fed a narrative and they accept it without doing their own research. But that being said, we do have to be super careful. We don't want to get worked up over individual little things. Now, is there a lot of crazy stuff happening right now that would have been conspiracy 2 years ago?
Yeah, I'm running out of conspiracies.
So, it's not something we don't want to get into or anything else, but definitely make sure to verify, really look into it. I always do that. And I see documents, I'm like, that document could be Photoshopped. Emails that say, oh, this federal employee just did this. I'm like, it's so, I love Photoshop. I'm a graphic designer. Like, I can do that in 10 seconds, so keep that stuff in mind. We're going to do one more question, then we're moving on. And then, will you guys hang around? Okay.
So, you said that, in your opinion, a lot of people that are vaccinated in law enforcement still support this cause.
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
I'm curious, I also know law enforcement is a super close family. When you guys lose your jobs, are some of them, or is there a discussion about some of them walking with you?
Come on.
So, first of all, I want to dispel that we're all really close. Because, I mean, I think that's a little bit of a,
Okay.
I mean, honestly, speak up. Sorry, you said we thought all law enforcement were really close. That's kind of a, I don't know, misconception, so to speak. So, as far as people walking away, I mean, we've got a lot of younger people that are working there, right? A lot of them have already taken the shot. But are there people willing to walk away in my department because of it? Absolutely. Going with us? I don't know. His department, again, they've got the Band-Aid, so they're.
I'm going to say no.
Yeah.
I would be shocked if one of the people who got these shots that I work with would walk away with me and the other third of the department.
I mean, because
So
really,
what do you want?
yeah, they would have already, if they took the shot under pressure, then we're probably not going to walk away.
So just to touch on that, we're set to lose 91 troopers on next Monday.
What's your total numbers?
Well, we're up to 300 troopers that we're not going to get, and it's going down to 91, and then like 60 or so non-commissioned, like communications, that kind of stuff. It's actually created a divide in our department. Like even our union has kind of written off the people that are getting fired, and we've been fighting with them kind of any kind of motivation to fight for us at this point. We had a lawsuit going through, it was over in Walla Walla. They got corruptly bumped to Thurston County where Ding Dong appoints the judges. And so we're supposed to have a hearing on it this week, so we're trying to get an injunction, but realistically, we all know this is coming. I got my call yesterday saying I was going to be terminated on the Monday. I didn't answer it, but I know it's what it is. So yeah, it's coming quicker for us than it is for them. So it's going to be across the state. You're going to have issues similar to the ferries. Like you're going to be just struggling. But as for that big families sticking together? No. Unfortunately, that's not. People provide for their families and put in a really tough spot, so they're kind of protecting their own right now. So.
Anyway, we'll stay after. If anybody lives in Buckley, if they want to come meet with us, okay. Trying to get some more Buckley people. We're coming. What about Grant?
We'll be there.
I mean, right, or yours, are you guys not here? All right,
Thank you. So just to touch on your question there too, and what's going to be happening, hopefully not soon. This idea of people having to actually leave their jobs, being forced out of their jobs. That's one of the main things too that we've been trying to create with our groups, is to bring people together so we can start forming that network. And I know when I say the term barter, that sounds really weird. It would have sounded weirder a while ago. But where we can start trading services, helping people out, especially single mothers who might be wanting to stand for their freedom, but they're put in a really difficult situation. We have so many people at every meeting come up and say, where can I send money? How can I help financially? We're not into that yet. We're trying to set up some kind of fund that can be used to help people with their power bill or whatever kind of hardships they come across until we get this sorted out. Because even if we lose our jobs here pretty soon, this will get sorted out. And like we've heard from a lot of the talking speakers today, this is happening and they know it's happening. That means the people who are in charge of our government are okay with our state collapsing. And the goal of this group hopefully is to get big enough to where we can stop them from collapsing our state by bringing it to a halt ourselves, giving us the power so we can avoid the inevitable, which is probably going to come. So hopefully we can stop that from happening. Anyway, so next up, we're going to invite Mr. Heath again. There you are.
Well, it's again, it's really, really great to be here with you guys. Some of you may not know, but the threads of liberty, justice, and freedom, even unity, have always been, from the very foundation of this country, have been sewn together on the floors of a brewery. Yeah. When young Mary Young Pickersgill was commissioned to design the United States flag, they met in a brewery, scrolled out the flag on the floor of the brewery, and that's where the threads of this banner that now covers our nation, that brings people together, that symbolizes freedom and justice to not only this country but to the world. That's where it was sewn together. So I just want to thank John and Wendy for opening up this place. I also want to just acknowledge and thank, thanks is not enough, for Nick and Tara, because standing is very difficult. Making a stand is very difficult. Making a conspicuous, bold stand where you no longer blend in, where you stand out like a sore thumb, where you go against the grain. It's very difficult to be the one that stands. But something that is proven, and is proven this morning, is that when you stand, others will stand with you. And I just want to thank you guys. In the 6th century BC, there was a story that was written, a fable, one of Aesop's fables, and it's 4 oxen and a lion. It goes like this. It says that a lion used to prowl about a field in which 4 oxen used to dwell. Many a time he tried to attack them, but whenever he came near, they turned their tails to warn one another, so that whichever way he approached them, he was met by the horns of one of them. At last, however, they fell a quarreling among themselves, and each went off to a pasture alone to separate in the corner of a field. The lion attacked them one by one and soon made an end of all 4. United we stand, divided we fall. Amen. I'm a large human being, but a peace lover. But my whole life growing up, I was a bit of a fighter. Most people didn't think of me as a fighter, but I certainly was. I was in many fights growing up as a kid. It's actually a scary thing when you get into a fight. You come to this place where you have to cross a threshold and you actually have to start engaging in something that doesn't seem right and you want to avoid at all costs. Most people don't go around looking for a fight. Now, on the other hand, there's these guys called bullies. And a bully will go up to a kid at school who's not doing anything wrong, but he will cross certain lines. A bully will try to embarrass, will tease, humiliate, but then he'll actually cross lines of physically touching, pushing, intimidating, even hitting, shoving their face in the mud. And sometimes you think that the kid who's being bullied is a coward, but that's not typically the case. Most of us don't want to engage. We'll do everything we can to not engage in a fight, even when the fight is brought to us. Sometimes they're called a coward or a yella, the coward of the county. But really that's usually not the case. They're typically not cowards. They just have been pushed in a situation where they don't want to fight. They don't want to engage. A lot of times these kids will go home and they'll tell their parents what happened. Their parents will be just ticked off, because who would treat my son or my daughter like this? The parents get upset and they talk to the kid, and the dad takes the kid into the garage and puts some boxing gloves on him. He starts teaching them how to fight. He tells them, son, you don't ever look for a fight. I don't want you to start one, but if one comes to you, I want you to finish it.
Yeah.
And they teach their kids these things, and so when the kid goes back to school, he walks a little different because he's been given the okay to fight. And it's amazing what comes out of someone who's ready to fight. Well, God is no different. He doesn't like his kids to be picked on, to be mistreated. And there is a bully who has brought a fight to us. And I believe that God is telling us and pulling us into the spiritual garage and telling us that now is time to fight. That there is a way to fight, and he teaches us how to do it. He says that the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, they're not natural, they're not normal. The fight that we're in is actually a spiritual fight. This is a battle that's much bigger than just people. It's much bigger than one person or a group of human beings. This is something that's happening that is spiritual. There's principalities and powers. There's wickedness and evil. And we're fighting against something that's bigger than just people, so we have to learn how to engage together in a fight. How do you fight in a spiritual fight? It's not easy. And also it can be a little bit scary because it's scary to engage. No matter what the origins of this coronavirus are, whether you believe that it came from a bat or a lab in China or some other place, no matter what you think, there's little rational debate that fear, deception, misinformation, and control have been weaponized to bring about a larger evil agenda. And I did say that there's no rational debate, because with that in mind, I don't make any apologies for the position I made and the position I've taken. I certainly don't make any apologies for the things that I'm about to say right now and the things that I've said in the past. We're living in a dark and difficult day. A very dark and difficult day. And no matter how suffocating the darkness is at midnight, God has already commissioned the sun to rise in the morning. And when the sun rises and light comes up, what happens is all darkness must flee, and I think that a better day is coming, and I want to encourage you that a better day is coming. We are now far beyond. We're 18 months removed from a 2-week stay-at-home order. We all kind of giggle at that. What a lie and what a deception. We are far beyond flattening the curve. We are far removed from any scale of phase 1, 2, 3, and 4 to describe what's happening in this pandemic, if that's what you want to call it. We are far beyond and far removed from rules of social distancing and even masking. We're far past that. We're further down a scary and a tyrannical road. Forced medical procedures. That's no small matter. People being forced out of schools. Even if you go to apply for Green River Community College online, you must have a vaccination in order to do so. Traveling, as we've spoken about. Shopping, buying groceries, going to restaurants. Losing your job. Being forced out of your job. I had an interesting conversation I won't get into with a dad at a cross-country meet, thinking it's ridiculous that people are saying they're being forced to lose their job. He said it's a choice. What a lie and what a deception. People receiving dishonorable discharges from the military after serving faithfully, fighting for our country. And And now because they choose not to take an experimental vaccine, which is no vaccine at all.
That's right.
They're being dishonorably thrown away like garbage. And I want you to know that even your lives are at stake and soon to be at stake. The threat of our lives is at stake. It's actually happening now. If you don't think so, try to rationalize in your mind how someone who's been waiting on an organ donor list for a kidney or a liver could be taken off that list because they chose not to be vaccinated. Literally taking their life in the balance. Well, it's about to get worse. We haven't seen the worst of this. This is not the end of the road. The same as the 2-week stay-at-home order was not the end of the road, but the beginning of one. We are not at the end of the road. So we have to be careful that we're not fighting just where we're at, but where we're going. Look down the road. Think about the trajectory of where we're headed and fight from that perspective. Think differently. Look larger. The attack that we're under is spiritual. Whether you think that this is apocalyptic, as I personally believe, or you believe that it's holocaustic, as I personally believe. There's no doubt that there is a larger agenda that is growing darker and darker every day. United we stand, divided we fall. Patrick Henry, one of the founding fathers of this country and the first post-colonial governor of Virginia, he's known for this phrase, give me liberty or give me death. But he's also known for making this proclamation. He said, let us trust God and our better judgment to set us right hereafter. United we stand, divided we fall. Let us not split into factions, which must destroy that union upon which our existence hangs. What I'm afraid is happening, and even with our best intentions is happening, is that people are forming factions. They are operating as silos. We are fighting our individual fights as much as I came out of a movie. We went and watched God's Not Dead the other day, and when we came out of the movie, a battalion chief of the fire department was talking to me, and we ended up praying for this man because he's making a stand. And he's going to lose his job and his career, and his family and his kids were there, and his wife were there, and everyone's getting teary-eyed. And I realized that they're fighting for their jobs, and police are fighting for their jobs, and pilots are fighting for their jobs, and teachers are fighting for their jobs, and students are fighting for their jobs, and military is fighting for their jobs. And if we're not careful, we're not united in it. We are fighting together, but when there's a protest for the students not wearing masks at the school, where's everyone else? When there's a protest for the police, where's everyone else? And the question was asked by this gentleman here, and I think this was one of the most poignant questions that we have to listen to. You can start off with 300 people who decided they're not going to get vaccinated, but it'll whittle down to 91 quickly, and then the 91 will whittle down to 60, and then 60 will whittle down to 12, and 12 will walk off the job quietly. But where are the other 300 that initially stood against it? You can't lose and fall away and abandon your brothers and sisters simply because you decided to get vaccinated. This is a time where everyone must stand together. God always operates in unity. That's always been his plan. He says, where 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, there I am in the midst of them. That if I can just get 2 or 3 and they'll gather together. He said, another thing, he said, where men are gathered together in unity, nothing's impossible for them. If I can just join them together as one. This hand right here is a big hand, but if I poke you with a finger, it won't hurt much. But if I make all 5 come together, it's pretty powerful. It's the same with people. We have to learn how to unite and come together and stand for each other. Not just stand for our silo or our group, but stand when others are standing. Lastly, I just want to share this last thing, and to me, it was a scripture that stood out to me. It gave me such confidence. This is God speaking. I'll give you the spoiler first. He's going to say this. He says, I will destroy the wisdom of the wise, the intelligence of the intelligent I will frustrate. This comes out of Isaiah 29 and 13 or 14. He says, so therefore, I will again jolt this people awake. There's an awakening happening. I'm going to jolt this people awake. He says, with astonishing wonders upon wonders, and the wisdom of their wise ones will fail, and the intelligent know-it-alls will have no explanation. Woe to you who think you can hide your plan from the Lord Yahweh. Ha! Do you actually think your secret schemes are so hidden that you say, who sees us doing this? No one knows what we are doing. The enemy thinks he's so crafty.
Yeah.
In that day, the deaf will begin to hear the words that have been written. What he's talking about are the people who have been long kind of just not paying attention to what's happening, not listening to God's own words, just living life. But he says that the deaf will begin to hear. And out of the darkness and gloom, the eyes of the blind will be opened. The meek will overflow with fresh joy in the Lord, Yahweh, and the poor will shout their praises to the Holy One of Israel. For the terrible one will be no more. The terrible one, it says, is described as the people who have these evil plots and plans and agendas. And they will be no more. The scornful jester will not be found, and all lovers of evil will be cut off. Those who make the innocent appear guilty, those who ensnare others with deceitful tactics, and those who lie to keep the innocent from getting justice will likewise be destroyed.
Amen.
I read this to you guys today because I believe that there is a strong hand of God with anyone that is in unity, and if we come underneath a banner. See, because it's not enough to come under the banner of being school teachers. It's not enough. That's a great start. There's lots of groups that are trying to do similar movements to what's happening here. What needs to happen is they need to all unite.
That's right.
Churches need to stand together.
Yeah.
I know I've gone over time, but I would just say this. I'm saying this on purpose. I'm glad I have the opportunity to say this in this town. There was a despicable writing that went out not long ago by someone who represented churches. I'm embarrassed for that article that went out.
Amen.
Right on.
I'm embarrassed for that. It was theologically wrong. It was divisive. It was weak.
Amen.
But churches need to stand together. The things that used to divide us need to no more. And we come under a greater banner. The banner of our country has always been to bring together a melting pot that people of that who are many become one. We are one nation, indivisible.
Mm-hmm.
But we are under God, and ultimately God is our banner.
Yeah.
And we come in and we hide under this banner, and we come in and we join together under this banner of Jesus Christ. And I promise you that he will see us through this, and a better day is coming. Amen.
Amen.
Pastor Heath, are you going to be hanging around for a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay. So, can I mention your church out loud? Sure. Thank you. Grace Point Church over at the Field House. If you guys know where the Field House is, if not, you can put it into Google Maps. It's over by the Expo Center here in town. And Heath will be around so you can ask some questions and get some more information about that.
About to get bigger.
I would like to touch base on that as well. And when we're talking about how the many are slowly becoming the few, if we don't have struggle, how can we have enjoyment in anything that we do? If there's no hate, there's no love. If there's no pain, there's no pleasure. And we are in a struggle, but I've never heard of a struggle where the majority of people had to stand up, because it wouldn't exist. So we are going to have the numbers dwindle down. There are going to be less of us. If we go back to the founding of our country, it was 3% that started the revolution.
Amen.
Most of them didn't want to stand up. They sure were happy a few years later.
Right.
So it is going to come down. And I know even people in this room, and I can't say they haven't thought about it either, but like, are we really going to be going through this? Are we ready to lose all of our health care? Are we ready to lose our way of taking care of our family? I don't know about you, but when a government takes away money that you provide for your family and you're unable to feed your family, that's an act of war to me.
That's right.
Be careful about that fear. It's sneaky. Fear can creep up, and I know people are worried, and it is a scary time we're living in. But don't let let that fear sneak up and grab a hold of you, because once it does, you are done. It is so tough to shake fear off, worse than heroin. Once you let that fear into your heart, it's going to be really tough for you to come back. And that's why we want to have these meetings, so we can come together and stand strong together. And like you were saying, there's a resonance. Can you feel it this morning?
Yes.
We feel each other. I think we're all connected. Doesn't matter what your spiritual faith is. We're all connected all around the globe. And if we keep these positive attitudes, we keep this fight strong in ourselves, that will resonate. People will feel it, and it will wake people up. It will bring people closer together. So be careful of that fear. All right, next up, we're going to have Michael. Where did you go?
Right behind you on the ground.
So Michael here, he's one of our community organizers. And for the new people here, we will touch base on community organizers, and we'll give you the information so you can get involved as well. One of our goals is to try to get 25% of the cities to stand up with us. It's very difficult to get one city to take a stand right now. We've talked to all kinds of people throughout Enumclaw, Buckley, all over the place. Whether it's school board members, city council members, mayors, etc. Everyone says their hands are tied. Which I am at the point now where it's time for us to say, well, our hands are tied. And now you need to do your job, the one that we hired you for. But a lot of cities are going to say their hands are tied. But if we can get one city, which it will be, this city right here, it's starting in Enumclaw. This brewery is the Green Dragon of 1776. We are going to get Enumclaw to stand up and take a stand. And I know in the past we have a great city council, an amazing mayor. Everyone in this town is fantastic, and they are patriots.
Amen.
We already have a target on it. Seattle Times did an article. Said, be careful going skiing because you have to drive through Enumclaw. You're going to die. You know? We had another, I don't know if it's Dixon Harding here. No. Dixon Harding, his boys were a few of them, and same with Pastor Heath, one of his sons as well, who took a stand first day of school and went in without masks.
Yeah.
And they got sent to the portable after they got sent to the field, and then to the portable. And then it was going to be homeschool options. There's one right there. They're on Fox News.
Yeah.
It was great when I was talking to Dixon the other day. I was like, man, I saw your kids on the Fox News clip. And he said that CNN tried to get a hold of him, and he told him that. I don't care. I don't like any of the news. I don't like Fox or CNN, but I thought it was kind of funny. Anyway, so that being said, I'm going to hand it over to Michael. Michael is one of the community organizers of our nation, and he's just going to tell you guys a little bit about what he's done. He came to a meeting, wanted to help. He's been awesome. He's done so much work, and he's grown his own base. The whole point of this meeting is for you guys to go out and do the same exact thing. This could be our head base, and we can get together and talk about things and figure out action plans. But we're hoping that everybody leaves today with some confidence and some strength to go do the same thing where they live. We get enough cities together. We get Enumclaw to stand. We're going to get Buckley to stand. We're going to get Maple Valley to stand. And it's going to grow just like that. We started with the education system. We're going to get them on board. We started with medical, fire, and we start talking to all these people so we can come to the city council. And our website, there's a survey, and it's collecting not your data, your personal data, whatever you want to answer. But there is a survey. That data that we collect from the survey is going to be really important information that we can take to a city council meeting and say, look at what's going to happen to your city. Look at the percentages of people who are going to be losing their job and not coming back. Your city is going to collapse. So those are some of those things that you can get on. But once we get to that point, we get one city to stand against these mandates, the other ones will come. I have a lot of hope that this is going to happen. All right, go ahead.
All right, so I'm not the best speaker, so bear with me. So when Nick goes, everybody raise your hand for something. Do you ever think back to school? You know,
Yeah.
You get called on and stuff, and don't worry, that's not going to happen here. So, unless you're a community organizer. How many community organizers are there? So you just stand up, show the people that are here.
You guys just want to stand at what cities or towns you're from? Graham.
Yep.
Tacoma.
Tacoma.
Puyallup.
Miami. We're from Warden.
And then
Kirkland.
All right. Love it. So I just came here about 5 weeks ago and checking out what was going on, and I said, I believe in what they're doing here, and I want to be a part of it. So I signed up, and where's your map at? We had a map to pin our name and a pin to say what city you were in, and I represent Carnation and Duval, and I'm working with Robin from North Bend and Snoqualmie. In between we have Fall City, so we're doing Snoqualmie Valley together.
Right on.
And we're having an event next Sunday night, and it's going to be called What About Our Kids? It'll be hard for you to see the backdrop here, the back of it. Flyer, and we'll have some little handouts if you want to attend that. Have some little handouts for you. You pick one of those up, and that's next Sunday night. And we have Tara's going to be speaking from a teacher's perspective about the kids. Going to have to deal with holding masks, and it's going to have to deal with the mandates that are being forced on the children and what's coming possibly. And Nick's son Dean is going to be speaking also from the students.
Right on.
We have a gentleman named Ethan who will be speaking. He has Jewish heritage. He lost people in the Holocaust. And so he'll be talking about his perspective and what it means in reference to today and what's happening. And will be sharing a lot of information, and you can come back from that meeting with the information, with the testimonials, and also with some strategy that we're going to have. That Aaron, who's speaking next here, will be also speaking next Sunday evening. So there's a strategy that we're going to be approaching this, trying to take on what's happening in these mandates and in the government, things that are going against us. I looked at everything for me, and I really appreciate what Pastor had to say. I identify as a Christian. I am a Christian, and I look at everything through my faith. And that faith is really important to me. When I was sitting home this last year, I was seeing a lot of people. They were scared, they were feared, and they were afraid of what was going on out there in the world, and the tyranny that was being pushed on them. So there's two spiritual fronts from that spiritual war that Pastor was talking about. There's the tyranny and the fear that we're fighting against. And I want to be a part of fighting back against that.
No.
So that's what my shirt said.
Yeah.
So when I came here, I wanted to get involved, and I said, God did not give us a spirit of fear or timidity, but He gave us a spirit of love, power, and of sound mind.
Amen.
And we are able to make the proper decisions with that. And I want to be a part of this, and I want to help it grow, and I want to spread the news. And I want you guys to be involved as much as you can. And we have a sign-up list. This is for the email list that goes out, and I'll have it back on the counter probably at the end. And just fill it out. It says you want to be on the email list, check that box. Or you want to be a community organizer, check that box. Or if you want to just meet up with different people in your community, check that box. You can also go to the website, Free2ChooseDotOrg, and you can fill out that form at the bottom of the page to what level of involvement you want to have in this group. So go to the Free2ChooseDotOrg. That's number 2, Free2ChooseDotOrg. And also we have a Telegram page. And so on the Telegram page last night, somebody posted some information. You can print out these placards for your card. So I just wanted to go ahead and show. I don't know if you can see some. So I printed out some of these. You guys go ahead and take one and stuff. There are things you put in your card. I printed them on my printer, so they might leave if they get wet. So, that's one thing about this organization. It's a young organization, and we're doing what we can, where we can, and with what we have to work with. And so you guys can be a part of that, and that would be most awesome. Thank you.
Right on.
So yeah, just another quick side note there too. You can sign the paperwork with Michael. You can do it online at the website. But once again, the whole idea is for you guys to get out there and start doing the same thing. And maybe you might be intimidated by being a community organizer, which means you're just the one on trying to bring people together and organize it. But if you want to help out, or if you're part of a school district, or first responders, whatever it may be, trade unions, let Michael know today, and he will find somebody in your area that you can reach out to, and they can just kind of help direct you to where you need to go. We keep trying to put as much information in our website as possible. We send out as many email blasts as we can, informing you guys of what's going on. The last meeting that we had over at the field house, we had 8 notaries there, and we had printouts, and people also printed out their own declination rather than an exemption. If you guys are new to that, Aaron's probably going to touch on that here in a second. But the declination is basically saying, I'm not going to sign your exemption. I'm declining that, and it has worked. It worked for my wife and some other people, which is fantastic. So anyway, that's part of the emails that you'll get are things like that to help you out. And we do have another notary here today, if anybody has those papers with them that they brought.
I have some extras.
And we have some extras. So if you're looking for a declination and you would like to have that notarized, it definitely helps when you send it in, because now it's a third-party document that you're turning in, so it helps out.
And can I just ask really quick, is there anybody in this room that either works in the Kirkland area or lives in that area? Would you want to, if after the meeting, can you guys find me?
Oh, yeah, let's do that one more time. Okay.
Yeah, at the end of the meeting.
At the end of the meeting? Okay.
Because I'm going to get y'all riled up.
All right, so Erin's gracious enough to come today. She has so much information. She's going to condense it as much as possible. So I'm going to hand the floor over to Erin. She has all kinds of great information for you guys.
You ready to take some action?
Yeah.
My name is Erin. I'm with the WCOC, the Washington Civil Rights Council. We're just a citizen activist group. We got off our butts and did something, and we've got the backing of some lawyers, okay? So we are the ones who created that statement of declination. I'm going to talk to you about that. What's going well with our organization? Can you all hear me back there?
A little louder.
A little louder. I'm going to speak louder. We get a lot of emails about the successes and about what's not working, and we learn from it, and we change things along the way. Okay, so we're getting better as we go. So always check into our website, because we're tweaking the documents as we use them. So parents, I have something to tell you. Everything I'm going to tell you right now is about an action we can take, okay? You guys heard about what's going on in the quarantine camps, right? Holding this together. Okay, let's talk about an action we can take. Someone on our group has a client whose husband is a firefighter who went down to actually apply for the job as part of the strike team for those quarantine camps. Parents, okay, I'm going to talk in code right now. The first 2 questions on the interview process were, would you be willing to restrain, right, while they, right? And the next code I'm going to say, let's say we're out, so this is so hard for me to say, we're out in the garden, we're shelling our peas. They're asking, would you be comfortable separating the little peas from the big peas? Okay, so these are the questions they're asking the people interviewing for the strike team. Come ready. Yeah. Okay, so action item. What we need are we need some guys who are like firefighters, police, qualified for a strike team to go down there and apply for those jobs and record it, video it, okay, and get that out there and show the world what they're doing. Because right now it's just rumors. We got to go let them know that this isn't just a rumor. Got it? So think about doing that. You can find the job description a lot of places. Okay, secondly, here's something else we found out. Someone who lost their position applied to the Washington Human Rights Commission. That's not us, that's the State Department. And said, listen, I've been discriminated against. I'm filing a complaint. And they wrote back and they said, I'm sorry, vaccinated or unvaccinated is not a protected class against discrimination. So we can't help you. Okay, so as an angle, don't try to go after anti-discrimination based on vaxxed or unvaxxed. It's not going to work. However, in this email, they kind of gave away their playbook accidentally because they said in the email, this is from a government document, right? Religion is a protected class.
Yeah.
Okay, so what we've decided to do is just push hard on the religious exemption, so much so that on our statement of declination, we didn't change the title, but we added claim of religious exemption under it. It states that we have a right to a religious exemption in the statement of declination, but they're just perusing it and denying it in some cases. So just to emphasize it for these guys, just add the statement underneath, claim of religious exemption. Now, starting 10 years ago, Inslee and his cronies tried to get rid of our religious exemption in this state. And we owe it, that we still have it, to a guy named Carl Kempfak, who went around and showed how the statistics that they were showing all the legislators to try to get rid of it, they were pretending that we were in a state of danger, that we had too many kids who were unvaccinated back in 2010. And he ran around and showed all the legislators how those statistics had been doctored. And he saved our religious exemption. That man deserves to be put on a plaque after we get this done, because if you're keeping your job through the religious exemption, it's because of that guy. Wow. All right? So it is working for a lot of people, but you have to follow an airtight process. And Pastor Heath over there did a video of me explaining that airtight process. It's not just submit the statement of declination, you have to also submit the constructive notice. He did a video, it's on Grace Point's Facebook group.
Yeah, Facebook website.
Yeah, added to the website. It's up to 14,000 views in 4 days. So let's talk about parents, and let's talk about the action steps that we can take. Free to Choose, I love this group because they're like being the project managers and putting you all in organized groups. But they need someone to volunteer for each group and say, I'll get all the names on a list and I'll take care of these people. And then just as Pastor Heath said, we're all under one united umbrella, under Free to Choose, right? And we're all under one united umbrella, the citizens of Washington.
Yeah.
So if you are a parent, I really want you to go out there and find other parents in your school district who are willing to stand with you, because we now have a strategy that's going to work. Come to the first meeting on the 17th, which Michael just spoke about. And Michael, why don't you turn the other card over so people can... This is for all school districts, okay? So it's not just for Snoqualmie, although you're going to hear from a lot of Snoqualmie people. But this is my chance to tell you guys the legal strategy that we're going to use for all parents. We're going to go after the bonds for the school district, which is what holds their liability insurance. Okay, so we're going to claim against their liability insurance. We're also going to go after the school board, and then we're going to go after the head of the Hydra, which is Department of Education. Now, this is why, because these school boards are just human beings like us, and the Department of Education has them over a barrel. Because the state is saying, we're going to take away all your money for your school district if you don't follow the vaccine mandates. Imagine how scary that would be, to be in the school district, and you've got a bunch of angry parents over here saying, take those masks off of our kids. And they're over here going, but if we do, there's no such thing as school after that. All the funding's gone, right? What do they do? Well, I want you to think about this. If you're an employee who has an employer who has an employee, and you've given them a job that's over their head, do you often step in and say, I'm sorry, let me help you out? Okay, well, they work for us. And they've been currently given a job on our behalf that is over their head. They can't handle it. They don't know how to negotiate between the Department of Education and us. So we gotta step in. Do you hear what I'm saying?
Yes.
So the only way this is gonna work is if a few of us go after each school, right? They're probably not gonna cave, because they're gonna say the pressure from up here is too big. But if a lot of us in each school district go after the Department of Education and the school boards at the same time, within at least a month or two time frame, right? And if we tell them, listen, we understand you are over a barrel, but we're your boss, we got your back, we're gonna do this with you, we're gonna go to the Department of Education, we're gonna take care of that too. Okay, and we're not suing them, we're putting them on notice. So we're gonna try to do this before it has to go to court. Once it gets to court, you guys understand, I mean, that's a barrel of monkeys of corruption, right? So we've got to take care of this constitutionally through common law before we even get to court. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
If you want to know more about how we're going to do that, come to that meeting and then organize your other school districts. Please, I can't stand watching how our kids are adapting to these masks. You know how adaptable they are? This is something they shouldn't have to adapt to.
It's child abuse.
All right, okay, so that's on the 17th. Next, are you an employer who is worried about the vaccine passport, right, that's coming down, restaurant owners, etc.?
How many employers are here?
Okay, so we want to find, did we ever find a venue for a meeting for employers for 6 p.m. this Thursday? Not yet. Okay, we need to find a venue for me to come and explain exactly to the employers how to handle this. 6 or 7 p.m. this coming Thursday. If you've got a venue, please go talk to Nick or Michael, because I'll drive back down here and explain to you employers exactly how to take care of this. It's easy. You guys actually have more power than anybody else in this situation. Here's how. Let me give you another metaphor. Imagine you're a step parent and your step kid is mouthing off, and as a step parent you say, you got to stop that. And the step kid says, I don't have to listen to you, you're not my real mom. Okay? That is exactly what we've got to say to LNI and DOH. I don't have to listen to you. You don't have the legal authority to back this up.
Amen.
Right? Now, there are a lot of different ways we can do that. We can kind of be a smart aleck and we can say, sure, I'll impose these vaccine passports if you give me legal proof that you'll take care of the liability when my employees get hurt. Right? But there's a lot of other ways that you can go about it. Legally, some questions, some paperwork you can put back at them. And we have found time and time again that what happens is LNI and DOH just sort of move on and go, let me see if I can talk to the next guy and hope he's a sucker. Because this one's not. Right? Okay? So please don't be afraid of the state right now. They don't have the legal authority to impose any of this. And it's all just threat. Nobody's actually getting fined. They're just threatening that they're doing it. Okay? We had a yoga studio who got called by LNI last week. And the yoga studio owner said, can you explain to me, you know, what would be the consequences of us not following through on this vaccine passport? And she said, I have to admit, I'm just a peon for LNI. My script doesn't actually say what I'm supposed to tell you. Okay? And she says, it doesn't really say anything here about fines or if they can even impose fines. Okay? I mean, it's just a charade.
Yeah.
And we've got to turn the movie off.
Yeah.
All right? So I've got a lot of concrete methods for employers and restaurant owners to push back against the mandate, and I can teach you guys that on Thursday, 6 p.m. We just got to find a venue. All right? Okay, next, groups of employees who want to go after their employer. So Decker, if you're still here, this is what I'm talking about, right? This is, you've got a whole bunch of contractors together, all going after one contracting company. Or you've got a whole bunch of teachers together who all want to go after their administration, right? This is the same thing. We go after their liability insurance, we put them on notice, we use common law and constitutional law. And we will follow through and take everybody all the way through court if we need to. But we've got a pretty good track record of helping people do this before they have to go to court. If we have to file injunctions, we'll do that. But what we're doing is we're trying to make legal assistance inexpensive or cheap or free, right? All of those letters of declination, you guys didn't pay for any of those, did you? Right? So we're trying to, here's the metaphor. I think I told you guys this before. I used to be a professional photographer back in the days when we had film, right? And then digital came out and it put a lot of us out of business because it put photography into the hands of the amateur and made it really easy for everybody, right? That's what the WCRC is doing with legal counsel. We're making it easy for you guys to represent yourselves. That's called pro se, and inexpensively. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is what Pastor Heath said is 100% true. Inslee is a puppet for the CCP. Okay? And it's really important for you guys to start digging and noticing how much China has already bought of the U.S.
Yeah.
From what I understand, they believe that the weather's going to get colder long term, and closer to the poles, it's going to be harder to grow crops. They're already telling their people that they need to start getting careful. Save your food scraps, don't eat so much, tighten the belt. Their crops are decimated by floods and weather. Okay, so that's why they've been buying up our land. And since World War II, their plan has been, why should we go after Taiwan? Why should we go after all these other countries when we could just take the United States and all the other countries would capitulate? Right? Okay? So they've had a long-term plan to take over our country for a very long time. But they know they got to do it from the inside out. And they've been doing it right under our noses. How many of you know that at least a third of the holding shares of the NBA are owned by the CCP?
Wow.
You know? NFL,
And the president.
land, real estate. Okay?
At least got
Okay,
that off.
so Inslee's a puppet for the CCP, and the CCP is still just peanuts. The CCP is a puppet for a satanic cult, right? Called the elite.
Yeah.
All right, that's another word for the Antichrist,
Mhm.
right? Okay, so yes, this is a spiritual war, but from what I understand, what I believe we've already won, we just got to catch up.
Yeah.
Okay, we got to catch up to the existence. Okay, so action items. If you want to help lead a group of employees who are ready to go after the same employer, okay, please get your name on the Freedom to Choose list, designate it somehow, because these guys are the project managers organizing it. They'll get the leader of that group to me. I'll sit down with you, we'll make it happen. If you are the leader of a group of parents who wants to do this with your school board, and believe me, it can start with 5 parents and it radically becomes 50 parents. Like fast, within a week you'll have more people. Talk to Freedom to Choose, get your name on that list, or talk to Nick. If you are a group of employers, how are we going to action item that? You guys will send out an email?
Just write down, yeah, if you're interested in coming, if you're a business owner, and we'll reach out to you once we get a.
Yeah. Okay. So finally, I want to end with this. We've been talking a lot about division, right? The division that they purposely used to weaken us. That's part of the Communist Manifesto. Get in there, figure out ways to fan the flames of all these protected classes, make them turn against each other, right? Make us weak and fight amongst ourselves so that they can easily come in and take over. So what the WCRC is trying to do, what Pastor Heath is trying to do, what Nick is trying to do, is to get us to take all that anger and that fear that we have kind of spread out among our neighbors or the left or the Democrats or whatever, and I want you to focus it and figure out where it really belongs. Because our neighbors are just brainwashed. Have you ever been really wrong about something and didn't realize it and were adamantly standing on the wrong side of the fence about something? If any of you are married, you know what I'm talking about. All right, so can we please have some forgiveness and some compassion for our fellow neighbors who are brainwashed around this, okay? And let's take all of that anger that we have, laser focus it, alchemize it, and turn it into this determination to win. Okay?
So we live in a free country, right?
Yeah. Used to.
Quotations around right now. But we live in a free country. Does the term mandate seem like it fits very well in our society?
No.
Do we not have a system and a process through legal means to create laws?
Yeah.
You have to keep in mind that these are mandates. They're not legal. Our representatives didn't vote to have us be forced to wear masks or to get a vaccine.
That's right.
These are mandates. They're scary terms. And I've talked before, and once again, it's just my own personal decision, because I hope everybody here comes from the left, the right, the center, vax, non-vax, because it's all about our country and freedom. But one of my stances was I stopped wearing the mask after 2 weeks. My whole family did. I've been through over 30 airports during COVID without a mask on.
Woo!
It was not. But it's those little things too of not complying. And you know what? The first time I did it, I thought I was going to get hauled off and fined or whatever. I'd walk up to the TSA agents, and the TSA agent would be like, "Sir, can you please remove your mask?" And would look at me. And I'm thinking, I don't have one on, man. You know, it's just a routine for them. And once again, that was just my own personal decision. But I've never gotten in trouble doing it. They've talked to me and on all this kind of stuff. You know, I've had people at the airports come up and say things. And, you know, I haven't been treated kindly, and it's not fun. But once again, if this was a law, do you think they'd let me go through TSA without a mask?
Right.
No. So really, when we're talking about be careful that fear creeping in, you got to remember, this is all scare tactics. Yep. This is all scare tactics for the people. Now, before we adjourn for the day and let you guys all communicate and talk and network, I'm going to start bringing reading assignments to the groups, because some people might not have heard some of these books, and I think they're really important.
Just like a teacher.
Yeah. I'll leave these on the table, but don't take them. They're my copies. The first one, now this one is kind of big, but you know, for you readers, maybe not so much. You can get all these on Audible too. I actually prefer Audible because it's easier to get through a book for me. But has anybody heard of Democracy in America? Written by Alexis de Tocqueville.
Oh,
This guy was a Frenchman, and he came over and he wrote about our country and the founding. And it's amazing what he wrote there, especially what he was worried about then is currently happening today. So Democracy in America, it's a big read. Small read, look at this guy. You guys can knock that out in a couple hours. This is The Law by Frederick Bastiat. Has anybody heard of The Law? Fantastic little book. It's a great read. And then this one, I think, is the Bible for what we're doing right now and trying to figure out what's happening in our country. Okay? The Creature from Jekyll Island is the stupidest name ever. G. Edward Griffin named it that way because he thought people wouldn't buy the book if it said the Federal Reserve. So he named it The Creature from Jekyll Island, and that's Jekyll Island is where a bunch of people met. I'm not going to ruin the awesome movie for you. But that's about the creation of the Federal Reserve and how that has completely destroyed our country and our currency. Once again, the stuff that you have in your bank account in your pocket is not money. It's currency. It's fiat currency. It's lost 98% of its purchasing power since the introduction of the Federal Reserve. So back in the day, you could take a $20 bill and get $20 worth of gold for it. We don't have that anymore. So I bring this book up because it's really big, but he also wrote this because he wanted politicians and people like that to read this thing. So he knew they wouldn't be able to read a book this big. So every chapter he has a summary and conclusion that you can read through quickly. So you can actually sit down and read this whole book in a matter of hours, maybe an hour or two. He did that for a reason because he wanted people to get the information. This is a fantastic book, and I'll tell you, I bet you guys have had some situations where you're talking to somebody and you kind of get a vibe that they're feeling like you're going on a conspiracy route, or you start actually getting into some of that stuff with them and it kind of turns them off, and they think, oh, as soon as you said this, now I can't trust anything else you say. Learn about the Federal Reserve, and that's all you need to do. As soon as you understand what the Federal Reserve is, and that is our true enemy, the true control comes from centralized banking and the Federal Reserve. And all you have to do is talk to those people and say, did you realize the Federal Reserve is not federal and it has nothing in reserve? That's a great question. They're a counterfeit operation that controls us.
Yeah.
And once again, when we're talking about losing our jobs and people taking our money away from feeding our kids, imagine this, you have $1 million in a 401k. And you retire, and you go to get that $1 million out for your retirement. You're super excited, and the bank says, "Oh, I can only give you $600,000." And you're like, "Whoa, I had $1 million in here. What happened to it?" And the bank says, "Oh, well, we spent some of it." You're like, "Well, are you going to give it back to me?" Nope. You only get $6. That's what the Federal Reserve does every day as they print money. $3.2 trillion coming in right now. The inflation is going to be insane. And if you haven't watched Biden last week, he was talking about raising the debt ceiling and the issues with that. Don't listen to what they want you to listen to. Listen to what they're saying. And as they were threatening the Republican side for not raising the debt ceiling, they were threatening them with taking away your money and taking away your jobs. Listen to the words. And actually, the live stream got cut off, which really frustrated me. So it only went on for 20 minutes. And I would say, if you really want to start getting more educated on some of these things, watch the press conferences, watch Justin Trudeau, watch, like I always say, North South Wales News in Australia, Channel 9. It's a dystopian movie. Yeah, New South Wales, Channel 9. You'll find it on YouTube. But watch what they're actually saying. And once again, when you're talking to somebody, if you bring the information where you can say, no, this actually came from Janet Yellen. Like, oh, okay, so you didn't see it on a conspiracy website. No, this came from Janet Yellen's mouth. You know, so educate yourself. I would say educate yourself on the Federal Reserve. Just type in G. Edward Griffin. I'll let you know his name afterwards if you don't know him. G. Edward Griffin is one of this country's greatest patriots of all time. He has, I'll put some on the website, some interviews that he's had with Yuri Bezmenov, which is also an ex-KGB agent, where they talk about how socialism came into our country. So there's lots of good information, but if some of this stuff is new to you guys, or you really want to learn about the Federal Reserve and what's happening in our country, then I would check out any YouTube video that has G. Edward Griffin on it. And he's still kicking it, and he's still he has a thing called the Red Pill Expo. And the last one they did was at Jekyll Island. And they met up there, and so he's still fighting. He's been fighting since he was in his 20s. His original videos, which are just fantastic, they're black and white, and he's got a suit on, sitting on the fireside. He's the most eloquent, well-spoken person I've ever seen. So G. Edward Griffin on that. So I'll leave these books up here if you guys are interested, and I'll bring some new ones next time. Yeah.
How are you getting on an airplane without a mask?
No, the airplane. I have to put it on the airplane. I got to breathe through the mesh of the airplane. Okay. Yeah, they would take off, so I was like, well, I got to get to work.
Hey, real quick, so for anybody that's in the trades, if I can have you guys stay after the meeting. So I have the president of 528 and a bunch of the reps here, a couple of the reps, and Aaron's going to talk to us kind of a plan of action for what we can do for job sites. So this is something that not just sheet metal workers are going to be doing. This is something that all trades, if we come together and we follow this plan of action, it's going to be a lot more successful. So if I can just have you guys stay after real quick and just hear what we have to say, it'd be really awesome. Thank you.
Decker and Justin are doing a great job with the trades. You guys would be surprised at how many people they've brought in together and forming their own strength. And once again, when we're talking about these actionable items down the road, once we get to the numbers that we need to be at, we'll be able to have a lot of power, especially when it comes down to, well, like, I guess we're not doing construction today. So, I guess the linemen aren't going to go to work today. I guess the teachers and the nurse and the police aren't going to go to work today. But we'll be ready and we'll know how to take care of ourselves during that time because we'll be in control. That's the goal.
Right on.
All right, I know we've been sitting here for a long time, so I got one last little thing. So we're going to have a couple sections also afterwards if you're interested in meeting up with some of the community organizers who stood up earlier. This piece of paper is going to be up here, so you can take a look and see where those community members are. If you just want to talk to them, chat with them, let them know that you want to help. Of course, all the information back here, you guys heard that 100 times. You go to Michael, he gets you filled in, and
I just want to recommend a book, The Invisible Rainbow. This documents Spanish flu, how they think about purification. So there's just a lot of books out there. Master Nuclear documents how incredibly corrupt CDC is. It's just the corruption off the board. Virus Mania is an extremely good book. I mean, the deception goes back 100 years. I mean, virus, you know, these viruses are like a unicorn, but they don't really exist.
We can put the books right here. So if you guys are interested, you can take a look at those books as well. And also, Rick, where did Rick go? Rick made some awesome stickers for us.
Oh, sweet.
So if you guys want one of these, it's just it's got a QR code on it. This is really great if you're going to be going to a rally or something. You can put on your poster, and then people can just scan up their phone and it'll take them right to the Free to Choose website, and they can fill out information there. So these are up here as well for you guys to take. And then I know there's 2 other announcements, real quick. I think. We're going to have business cards here pretty soon that we're going to start handing out at these events. Same thing with the QR code. So when you guys are out doing stuff or you meet somebody in a grocery store or whatever, you can just hand over a business card. Makes it nice and easy. So we're going to have those pretty soon. We have the rally on the 17th. All this stuff will be posted on the website. It's going to be in Buckley. Of course, 17th, later that evening, is our event. If you want to hold a sign up one more time, take a picture. We're at North Forks Farms. Oh, and I think we might have some t-shirts coming pretty soon, too. Which would be kind of fun. That being said, oh, quick question?
Yeah, let's go, Brandon. Diesel has a 32-day supply right now. Again in November and December. Everybody remember this? Remember this. It's important for us. This is U.S. We have 32-day supplies. That's 1 month. It's going to get worse. Prepare for gas and oil both. Third, if you are safe, you know what I mean? The vaccine does not matter. All right. So don't worry about it. Some people were worried about it. They thought they weren't going to be safe because they got vaxxed. All right. Because there's a lot of truth to that. Do not worry about it. If you've been saved, if you believe, you are saved. There is nothing that's going to change that. So don't get worried about it. Tell your friends not to be worried about it. And fourth question for you, at the Buckley, are we going to open carry?
Open carry?
Yeah.
I would recommend not doing it just because the media would love to spin that. But, and there's no reason to do that in Buckley anyway. We're jumping underneath church.
They are going to spin it anyway.
One other thing, we are going to start putting together some classes. So for instance, the Federal Reserve, we're going to do a class on the Federal Reserve, and we'll probably do it here maybe next week, and we'll get that information out to you guys as well. We're also going to start doing other classes. This is going to be a long process, obviously, what we're going through, so it's just great to keep people informed, especially our youth. Like my son over here probably knows the Constitution better than most adults, which is fantastic, and our kids need to learn about this stuff, so we want to do some classes and courses. We're also going to do some stuff on some other random things as well, where we can bring some professionals in. If anyone's interested in like learning how to use a ham radio, it might be a good idea. Things like that. So we're going to go with some fun classes. We'll meet up here and do just hour-long classes, and we'll have all that information in the email blast and everything else. So.
Right on.
Do you have a place here where we can just donate some action?
We don't.
Nick. Sorry, I've got it. I forgot to ask that part. If you go to marchforfreedomlaw.com, there's a donate button, and we're very transparent about what we need the money for. We're paying lawyers just to keep the lights on. Okay, they're not overcharging us, and they're helping us out. And paying people like me, we've given up our jobs to just go out and do this full time. I do this 12 to 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. Yeah. You can donate there to the organization, or you can slip a little cash in my waistband here if you want to. And if you have any questions specifically, I see that we've got more employees here than we've got employers. If you're still trying to figure out how to do your religious exemption paperwork and use our statement of declination, they'll put the video on their website. But any specific emails, email this, wcrc@protonmail.com, and one of our legal advocates will email you personally, okay? And you're going to get free advice. All right? Here you go.
Right on.
I think we've sat long enough. We're still almost, never mind.
Can I just say, okay, for the people that want to group together in the areas that you live in, if we can do windows, the trades, is that all right?
So Decker and the trades over here.
Yeah, over that way. Over here, Spanaway, Parkland, Shauna is your person. Tacoma, I'll be under the TV. And Ann, Gig Harbor will be under order here, sign under the flag and the t-shirts. And the last corner over there by the bar, Enumclaw, Buckley. Okay?
And Michael for parents.
And Michael for parents.
Over by the bar.
Okay.
Okay.